You know how often we think we're being clever, snagging a budget-friendly grill or a DIY island that looks good on the brochure, only to end up with a rusted mess, a leaky sink, or a refrigerator that freezes everything the moment you open the door? That regret hits hard when you realize you've spent more time fixing the setup than actually cooking. Link is in the description if you want to check the product details on Amazon. The question I kept asking myself before I even opened the box was, does this XLBTYNFD 6-burner gas grill outdoor kitchen island feel like a smarter buy, or is it just another oversized promise that will leave me scraping grease off a rusted hood? First off, let's talk about the kind of space this thing demands. At 133 inches long, it's essentially a full-length kitchen counter you'd expect to see in a backyard designed for serious entertaining. The footprint is surprisingly compact for that length because the designers tucked the grill, sink, fridge, and storage into a modular cabinet that sits low enough to walk around comfortably, even on a deck with limited clearance. I set it up on a 20 by 30 patio with a concrete slab, and the whole unit slid into place with only a few bolts to tighten. The nearly fully assembled claim isn't marketing fluff. The main frame, burners, and refrigeration unit arrived pre-wired, and the gas line connections were clearly labeled. So I was able to hook everything up in under an hour with just a standard wrench and a garden hose for the sink's water line. Now, who actually benefits from a setup like this? If you're the type who hosts weekend barbecues for a crowd of 10 or more, love the idea of a dedicated prep area outdoors, and would rather keep the indoor kitchen free for desserts, this island is a solid fit. The built-in sink lets you rinse vegetables or baste ribs without sprinting back to the indoor sink, which cuts down on the "I'm missing a spice" trips. The outdoor-rated refrigerator, made from heavy-duty steel, stays reliably cool even when the sun beats down for hours, so you can keep drinks, marinated meats, and even a few condiments right at arm's length. The storage cabinets, hidden behind sleek panels, hold everything from charcoal trays to cutting boards, keeping the patio looking tidy instead of a cluttered workbench. If you're living in a smaller balcony, have a modest budget, or only fire up the grill once a month, you might want to skip this. The sheer size means you need a substantial flat surface. Trying to cram it into a narrow patio will lead to cramped traffic flow and can make the whole setup feel overwhelming. Also, the price point sits well above entry-level grills, so if you're only after a simple weekend grill, a standalone 6-burner unit without the extra island features would likely give you more bang for your buck. Let's dig into the practical strengths that matter when you actually fire it up. The 6 burners are spaced evenly across the 48-inch cooking surface, giving you enough room to sear a whole slab of ribs on one side, while maintaining a low heat zone for veggies on the other. The double-lined hood does a respectable job at funneling smoke away, which is a relief if your neighbors are sensitive to lingering barbecue aromas. Because the hood is insulated, it stays cooler to the touch, reducing the risk of accidental burns when you're moving between the grill and the prep sink. The marine-grade, rust-resistant galvanized steel frame lives up to its promise. After 3 weeks of regular use, exposed metal around the burners showed no signs of flaking or discoloration, even after a light rain. On the flip side, there are some hidden trade-offs you won't see in the glossy marketing photos. The refrigerator, while heavy and sturdy, runs on a standard 120-volt plug and draws a noticeable amount of power. If you're on a circuit that already powers lights or a pool pump, you might notice the lights dimming when the fridge kicks on after you load it with a full rack of drinks. I ended up adding a dedicated outlet, which added a modest extra cost. The sink's faucet, though functional, feels a bit cheap compared to the overall premium aesthetic. The handle can be a little stiff, and the flow rate is moderate, which isn't a deal breaker, but something to be aware of if you're hoping for a high-volume wash station. Finally, the storage compartments, while cleverly integrated, are shallow. They're perfect for utensils, sauces, and small tools, but trying to stash a large cooler or a bulky cutting board quickly fills the space. From a daily usability standpoint, the island's layout encourages a more kitchen-like workflow outdoors. I found myself chopping onions at the countertop, moving the veggies straight to the grill, and then rinsing the knives at the sink without missing a beat. The fridge's door opens wide enough to grab a bottle of wine without having to crouch, which feels surprisingly convenient when you're juggling a grill spatula and a phone call. The whole system runs on propane, and the tank sits discreetly under,